Black Hypothesis.
Hey everybody, this is B. Langston Jules.
And Paper Made.
And we are
Black Hypothesis. STEM for the culture.
What's up? What's up?
Oh. I didn't see you sitting right next to me. What's going on, Paper Made? What's going on?
It's going well.
All right, cool.
Can't complain.
We're in the kitchen right now.
Yes,
Something's cooking. I like what it's smelling too.
Mm.
Smell that?
I smell it.
It's gonna be a good episode. That's what I'm smelling.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Before we jump into that, what's new with you?
You know, the summer has officially begun for me. I am ready for it. How about you?
Summer 2023. Let's do it.
You know what makes me what that makes me remember?
What's that?
It makes me remember those times when you're thinking, okay, school is out. I want to enjoy my summer. But at the same time, you're like, you know, if I prep a little bit beforehand, I might be better next year. No, you never had that?
I have never thought that.
You never thought
You
that?
really thought that?
Damn. Okay, so
last day of school, you're thinking, let me prep for a better school year?
yeah, that never occurred to you?
You're lying. You never thought that.
I really, oh my God, that makes me feel so weird. I'm the weird
No,
one.
that's not weird. Maybe I'm weird. I mean, I don't know. Right now, it's 1 out of 2. So.
Okay, well, you know, you think about internships, you think about prepping, you think about getting yourself on the up and up for what's coming next, because maybe the school year was tough. You know, you get through finals, you're like, dang, that was hard, but I made it through. If I prep a little bit before, it'll be so much easier.
You know, that is very forward thinking, and that is why you are the leader that you are in your industry, Paper Made. I respect that.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
And you know why I'm excited? Because we have another leader in industry as well.
Ooh.
A titan of industry, actually. Yes, I am very excited to have this interview today with Ahmad Burse. He is a veterans corporate and federal career coach.
All right.
Yeah. So
he's a career coach. Yep. Talk about preparation.
Absolutely. He's sitting in the wings right now, so we want to get this thing started and hear what he has to say. So everyone, let's introduce Mr. Ahmad Burse. Burse, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I just got to say, I'm dating myself, but as you talk about summer and going back to school, it's like whenever you start adulting, summer is just another day. And it's like, man, I missed that time when I didn't have to worry about this, I didn't have to worry about that. And so, but in any instance, my name is Ahmad Burse, and I am a veterans corporate and federal career coach. And what I do is I help persons in the corporate and federal arena whom may need assistance as they transition out of military or maybe within their career fields. So that's kind of a nutshell of what I do.
Okay.
I've been working. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, go ahead.
That is amazing work that you're doing then. And a part of what we are all about is that preparation for one's career, especially when we know we're less exposed at times to different paths that are available, and even within our experiences, more so what we want to do, but we just don't even know about it, or we don't know how to get ourselves into the position to attain those high hopes of ours when it comes to what we want to do with our lives. So how do you feel that you usually have to inspire anyone with what they're capable of doing?
Well, you talked about inspiration.
Inspiration.
Well, first, before I begin, I want to thank you both because you're creators, and I have so much respect for people who trust themselves and to create things, because you never know the impact of what you do and how it may change someone's life. And, you know, I really, y'all just don't understand to see you young people, Black young people doing it. You know, there's folks out there that kind of say, man, I wish I could. And, you know, your generation is the one that's like, hey, I'm doing this and I don't care. So I thank you for that. But in regards to inspiration, I think for me, coaching people, it's less about inspiration, more about people forgot who they were. You know, in my opinion, everyone's powerful. And sometimes some situations occur in your life that take away that power, whether it's a relationship or whether it's a job that you really thought you were supposed to be in. And then you don't get it, or that relationship fails. And although I'm not a relationship coach, you'd be surprised how integral, you know, those relationships we have with each other and other people around us will impact our ability to do well. So I think that's really important. So it's less about inspiration and more just reminding people, hey, you got this. You're powerful, and just giving them the tools to kind of look at themselves and say, hey, I've been able to do this before. You know, I can meet this challenge. I have those skills.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I look at things.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And yeah, you mentioned you know, life experiences and things like that. So I guess I also wanted to know if you could walk us through, you know, your journey. What's your path? What's your story to bring you to this point here where you want to, you know, dedicate, you know, your expertise and your services to helping veterans be able to traverse, you know, the different climate of, you know, bettering their career and improving on themselves.
So then I'm just going to give you a short. So at 15 and a half, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go Steelers. And if you don't like the Steelers, then I feel sorry for you.
Nah, Ben was a bad boy, so I get it. So I was excited. My favorite player was Hines Ward on the Patriots. He was crazy and mad in 2005. That was my go-to. But go ahead. Yeah.
So then, like I said, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My first job was McDonald's at 15 and a half. And at that time, you didn't, and I'm getting to a point of all this about my ages and stuff, about my age, because I started working because it's like, hey, listen, I wanted to do this. I come from a single parent home, so I wanted to contribute to my home. My mom was doing stuff, and hey, if I can work, I'm gonna get out there and work and do something. So then I started at 15 and a half. At 16 and a half, they had this program in the military. It's called the DEP, the Delayed Entry Program. So at 16 and a half, I signed up for the Army. And then I graduated at 17. And then shortly before my 18th birthday, I was in basic training. Then from basic training, I went to my first war, and that was the Persian Gulf Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Then I had a lot of different other deployments. I had roles such as a drill sergeant, as a paratrooper. I worked with wounded and ill warriors. And from there, once I left the military, I got a government job, and within the federal government, I'd say I excel because I moved a lot faster than other folks. And right now I'm transitioning from that federal job. But when I was at McDonald's, they taught me how to clean, and I didn't realize I didn't know how to clean, but you clean as you go. So whenever there's something being prepared, you clean it up immediately. But one of the skills I got taught was that whenever you're mopping the floor, you sweep the floor and you keep the bucket behind you. And then you mop forward and then you kick the bucket behind you. Mm-hmm. And that way, when you complete the floor, you're not going back over it. So when I got into the military, I knew how to clean. And a lot of people didn't know how to clean. And I just say that is, there's not an experience that I've had, regardless of how bad, that has not shaped me into the person that I've become now. And I think it's important that we kind of acknowledge those things, that, hey, listen, it may not have been that much to me at the time. However, those things allow us to grow, and those things shape our experiences. You know, one of the reasons I joined the military is because at the time it was the fastest way to middle class, and I couldn't afford to travel. Excuse me. So the military sent me all over the place. So then I hope that answered your question. I kind of went off on a tangent, but I think the value of it is like, do not discount any experiences you have. Do not, because they come back to you and they make you the person that you are. And those experiences, they might be small and insignificant, but because I knew how to clean, because I knew how to do things, people actually seeing me and say, like, hey, listen, he may have the ability to do other things because he can do this well. And that's kind of the way that played out. And that's how it built on other things.
Yeah. I have a similar saying actually, and I agree with you because those experiences can come back to you, um and the rewards that you can reap from those are sometimes tenfold from something that was so simple,
Yes,
you know, because I usually say no experience, no lesson should be wasted. I don't believe in
absolutely.
waste, you know, so you keep that information that you attained, that you gained from anyone. And regardless, like you said, of uh, the negativity that may have been associated with it or may not, but if you can get the positive from it, if you can learn from it, then at some point that lesson is going to come
Yes,
up again and you're going to be the one who's prepared.
yes, absolutely. And it's acknowledging those lessons and helping other people to acknowledge those lessons. And I think that's kind of the whole making people remember who they were. It's like, hey, listen, you know, you've overcome this. Like a lot of folks say, I mean, a lot of people have graduated, yeah, have graduated high school, but a lot of people haven't graduated high school. And
Mm-hmm.
if that's the basis of how you got to keep going, then that's what you got to do. It's like, hey, listen, there's a whole lot of folks that never graduated. And I'm not knocking that part of it, but what I'm saying is for some folks, you see people in their 70s and 80s, I got my high school diploma because things occurred and I wasn't able to. And that's the impact of that. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, that's a fact. So actually, so I wanted to sorry if I missed it, but so you were in the military, in the army. Around what time did you, I guess, transition out of that, and where did you go afterwards?
Yeah, how did you get your government position
Uh,
once you left the military? Was that transition difficult?
Hell yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to make it sound like it's something it's not. So then uh there's for people for military folks, when you transition, I was blessed. I was able to transition. So what I mean by that is you figure you've done something for at that time I've been in the military for 23 years. So you're used to something you're used to everything for 23 years and then that stops. So then you need time to transition yourself mentally to mentally like, hey, uh, what does go to work feel like? What does, I remember I was talking to one of my friends and she was mad because she didn't know how to wear heels. This is her. She didn't know how to wear a professional suit. She knew how to wear this army stuff, but she didn't know how it was supposed to fit. She didn't know about the earrings. For men, they may not know how to wear a suit. They may not know how to just little things that help develop your personal brand as you get out. And it can be a challenge. And it wasn't that I didn't have a plan because, uh, what Mike Tyson says, everything's fine until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And in transitioning, you get punched in the face quite a bit because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had this job lined up. Well, that agency or that organization went a different way. So then before I left the military, I had my master's degree and I had also got some certifications in teaching, not certifications, but certifications in information technology. So 6 months after I left the military, I was able to find viable employment as a teacher. And when I started teaching as an information technology person, and they had a position available, no one wanted to teach. It was career development, dealing with, of course, how to write resumes, how to set goals, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so I volunteered because, in my mind, there's nothing I can't teach. All I need is a curriculum. Let me figure out what needs to get done, the objectives. I'm good to go. So then that's kind of started that. And then after that, I was there for a year and a half. And incidentally, the only reason why I left, it was a local college, but I'm not going to go into why I left. It wasn't because I did anything wrong, but I didn't like what I seen. And so then I left and I got a federal job. So competing for jobs within the federal system, it's not a challenge, but there's just things that you got to know how to do. USA Jobs is like the website you go to. And once you go to USA Jobs, one of the things I found out is when you apply for a position, normally I thought the turnaround time before them saying something to you and them not saying something to you was about 30 days. But when you apply for a job on USA Jobs, that turnaround might be 4 or 5 months, meaning you apply for the position closes 2 weeks later. So 3, 4 months later down the road, you might get an email saying, hey, listen, are you still interested in this position? And I wasn't aware of that. And that's some of the things that, I try to help people understand. The system, some agencies are able to get back to you within 30 to 60, 90 days, but some agencies take months. And so you're kind of in limbo trying to figure out what am I supposed to do. So then what I realized, 2 things, I came up with a strategy in order to find a job. Because jobs keep you just over broke. So in order to find a job with the federal government, I came up with a strategy, and then that's how I got on. But for the federal government, I guess for any kind of thing, it's a numbers game. Just submitting.
And when you say that, it reminds me, because I recently went through a job transition too. And so I had that experience with the leaving one culture, because I had always been in a hospital setting, and then going to another. So now I'm in tech. Okay. And it's like a completely different culture to kind of acclimate to, changing my view of the world is on fire, everything is an emergency, to now thinking, okay, we're all about change, we're all about growth. And so when you say things like coming up with a strategy and preparing yourself to understand the differences between industries, so that you're not thinking like, oh, I'm applying to all these positions and I'm not hearing anything back, it kind of makes me want to share and connect with people more so on the don't give up kind of mentality, that pushing for perseverance, like you were saying, we have to remind them who they are, right? But then there's also like encouraging them to also know that this is not as good as it gets. There's more, there's better and greater things on the horizon, and not to give up. So how would you say that you persevered? How would you say, what helps you to find that perseverance within yourself to say, I know there's better for me, I know there's better for my clients? Where does that come from?
Well, I would say just kind of going back into the job search. So when I was at the college as an adjunct, I asked my students, being an instructor, they gave me a lot of leeway, and I did my best to make sure that I prepared my students for this life, because this life is rough. It's a beautiful thing, but you can't just kind of float through it, because things are going to come at you and you're going to have to be prepared for them. So one of the things I always ask my students, it's like, hey, are you ready to leave where you live at to go somewhere to work? And they raise their hand, and I had a mixture of prior service military folks, because military people are kind of used to traveling, like every 3 years you're moving around. And then I had folks that were didn't have any prior service, and they like, no, because at the time I was in Fayetteville, it's like, I love Fayetteville, I'll never leave Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then I started breaking down, what is the median income here? How much do you actually need to survive? What kind of skill sets you're going to need. So then one of the things I always say is like, listen, if you can find an opportunity that's going to pay you more, that's going to allow you to live the life that you like, and it happens to be outside of the city or somewhere else, you need to go ahead and do that. So then I took my own advice, and I ended up leaving Fayetteville to take a job in Cincinnati, Ohio, because it was paying more and it gave me opportunities. And when you're married and you have children, it's a challenge. My children were grown. It was an understanding that, hey, I'm going up here to work, but you have to we're not in the age of, the factory is there and everyone works in the factory. There's too many opportunities out here, and you have to come outside of your comfort zone. Is it hard moving to a city? Yeah. It's also hard not being able to pay bills. it's hard when Christmas time comes and you can't afford to get your children the things that you'd like them to have. So, you know, you tell me which heart you want to work with. So then, so hold on, I went off on a tangent again, but I love the subject and I love encouraging people. And the best thing that I think that's happened for me as well as for coaching is that in coaching people, I'm coaching myself. When I'm empowering someone and saying, listen, hey, you got this. I understand that you didn't get the position, but hell, you know, in a house, when one door closes, there's another one open. So let's kind of figure out why you think you didn't get that position. But more importantly, let's figure out a place that wants you, that values you, that will take you. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think sometimes when you're going through things within your career, you may forget the value that you actually have and that you can give to someone, because there's someone that wants you. There's someone that needs you to come there. There's someone that's going to say, hey, listen, we've been waiting for you. Thank you for coming to our organization.
Yeah.
Or someone's, you know, as a coach, hey, you need this. I'm here to help you. There's just, you know, if you can change your paradigm, a lot of things can change.
That's
Agreed.
That's a fact. So I'm thinking about over the last few days, right? So we have our boy Clarence Thomas. You know, he's I'm not following it, but apparently they're throwing his name out there. I'm sure there's other judges, but apparently they're like nailing it to him that, you know, affirmative action or whatever, that's been revoked or reversed. So that's like not a thing anymore. And from what I understand, that affects schools. But I don't think that's really the case, because that's just going to propagate into the you know, professional realm, you know. And so I know we have DEI and all these pushes for diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And from my perspective, it came out of nowhere anyway. And now I feel like this is coming out of nowhere, and I don't feel like these things are happening simultaneously in like a silo situation. So I wanted to know two questions. One, what's your thoughts on it? Because I feel like what you do now is going to be even more important than ever, because systemically I don't see the reason to go back and overturn things that we established like 30, 40, 50 years ago. So this is something that's very new, this, to me at least anyway, this DEI, DNI, diversity and inclusion stuff. So I feel like it is a lot less structured, and it doesn't have as much of a foundation. So I feel like that could be easily toppled over. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's like not a thing that corporations start pushing by next week, you know? So, so my question for you is, one, what are your thoughts on that? Two, how is your expertise, how is it going to be applied? Because I know you service, I'm sure you service everyone, but how do you apply your expertise to help the challenges that Black professionals are going to be facing in career progression in their own respective fields?
So then, speaking from experience, it's just speaking specifically about Black professionals in regards to DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and the A is accessibility.
As an A, I didn't know that. Okay, all right. So
and then, because that's like my federal job is all that, and equal employment opportunity. So then, equal employment opportunity, these are rules and regulations that are created, okay, that the companies must abide. You know, Walmart, you know, they get sued for discriminating against employees. So EEO is the basis of all these things. And then from EEO, you have DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives, you know, things to, you know, diversity being not just someone's color of their skin, but their background. And, you know, diversity, equity, you know, being opportunities for all, not just how the saying goes, if you give everyone a bike, that's equity, or giving everyone the same thing is not necessarily equity. Diversity, equity, inclusion, just being inclusive, making sure that everyone has a seat at the table. And of course, accessibility is for persons with disabilities. So in working with Black professionals, there's two things, kind of two to three train of thoughts. There's some very successful folks I've talked to that don't kind of believe in the need for affirmative action or affirmative employment. And then there's some that are, they believe that there's a need there, but they're, they don't have the voice. They don't have that they don't have the volume of folks to kind of assist them. They don't have that oversight. So then employee resource groups are a good way for agencies to, or for, Black folks or Asian Pacific folks, whatever that employee resource group is, it's a good opportunity for them to get together and come up with ways of dismantling some of the systemic problems, whether it be blocked pipeline where they're not recruiting, or within the agency where they, you might have a dense population of people of color, Black folks, minorities, but they may not be able to progress because there's just systems in place that's like, hey, they're not getting the mentorship, they're not getting the developmental opportunities, so they just kind of sit there. So I mean, hold on, I kind of went off. So let me what's the question specifically again? Because I want to make sure.
The affirmative action, the recent affirmative action thing. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think affirmative action is important, but I'm not sure if people understand it. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Affirmative action does not mean we're going to hire 5 Black people and then we're going to hire 4 Asians and then we're going to hire 3 of this and 2 of that. Affirmative action is taking steps to make sure that those folks have the opportunity to compete. When as an EEO person within, my career field, you always hear about people, well, those are goals or those are quotas, and quotas are illegal. But if you're not even looking at, hey, listen, we have outside population, 40% of the people in our metropolitan are African American, and only 5% of the people make up our workforce. There's a problem there. There's something going on. And I'm not saying it's intentional, but it's just taking a look. So the purpose of affirmative action is to make sure that you're looking at the data and you're doing something to include these. And I think the other message that people kind of miss on affirmative action is, if you're bringing folks in with diverse backgrounds, with diverse skills, that's going to make you more competitive. That's the bottom line. That's going to bring your agency money or whatever it is your missions are. So then,
and that's not made up. It is statistically proven.
Absolutely. If you have a diverse group of folks who are coming in and don't have groupthink, of course you're going to be more effective. So then, in regards to it, if that's the decision that's made, I can't, it's not, I don't have a comment on it. All I know is I can teach people that, hey, listen, this is what you need to do. If you want your agency to be successful, you need to reach out. You need to look at, have some sensing, have sensing sessions. That's what they call them. But talk to your employees, talk to your Black employees and find out what's going on. What things are impacting them, because you don't want them to leave, because all that knowledge, all that intelligence, all of those things that they have that can really provide value to the agency is going with them. So I think, when people are able to polarize it to make it seem like, oh yeah, this group is taking over this, and they don't back it with statistics, they're not showing the value of it, then you got to question it. But, unfortunately, people don't like looking at numbers. And when you show them the numbers, they're like, oh, well, that's just an anomaly. No, this ain't no anomaly. This is the truth right here. And that's one of my jobs also. Like, hey, listen, this is what your demographics say. I'm not telling you got a problem. However, this is what the demographics say, and help me to understand how we can change this.
Nice. I think that within, especially the STEM fields, and some of the career paths that we've explored on Black Hypothesis, that people can sometimes be intimidated, and that fear that we were discussing, or that, not remembering sometimes what people are capable of, what they are capable of, can creep up when it's obvious that some industries struggle with maintaining equity, maintaining diversity. And when you enter these spaces, the culture switch sometimes can put people off. And it can make certain fields less, what's the word I'm looking for?
Less appealing?
Less desirable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know if I even want to work as hard to enter this field because I don't see people like me in that field. Or I don't, like you said before, I don't know how to wear a suit, or I don't think I'll enjoy going into an office and working at a desk. I normally, have always worked with my hands. So knowing the change in a lot of industries now and how automation has progressed and how we're moving towards a lot of computer-based technology,
Yeah.
AI, and all of the things that we talk about. How is it that you've experienced any, or what have the discussions been with your clients or in your experience about these changes? And do you experience people really wanting to enter STEM fields? Are they excited? Do you feel like more and more people are transitioning from different career paths into STEM, especially for people of color?
So then, number one, my thought process is, if you want things you never had, you're going to have to do things you've never done. So in a lot of places, I've been the only one that looked like me. And if you plan on achieving your dreams and they're not in places where people look like you, then you're going to have to do what you got to do. And you're going to have to step in there and you be that person. I remember they had talked about the term token, whereas, oh yeah, and it's like a condescending term because it's the only person. However, if you're the only one, then hey, whatever it is, they're not here dealing with this. And if that's what you want, then you pursue your dreams. You go ahead and do that. I don't care how hard it is, because it's not, come on now, let's look at this. You're not being beaten. You're not on no plantation, honestly. And there's all sorts of opportunities. So you got to go out there and get them, because if you don't, somebody else will. So then if your goal is to be in STEM, whether it's a scientist, there's plenty of folks out there and there's plenty of people that can help you get there. So, that's number one in my mind. If you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. Not everything if it was meant for everyone to do it, then it would be easy. That's the bottom line. But having a plan and having folks around you to support you to go through and to do those things, I think you can do this. Now, in regards to people transferring into STEM, not a lot. It seems like what I found is, this is my experience. Folks that go into STEM, that has been their thing. You understand what I'm saying? They've always been curious. They've always thought about things differently. For engineers, being able to put something together in their mind and then make it to bring it into fruition. That's like an amazing talent. Creators, I love folks like that, because that's like my weak spot in regards to things. I'm not as good as bringing things mechanical into fruition, but I can bring some dreams into fruition. But in any instance, I think that's, you have to realize that you can do these things. And it was another part of the conversation. I'm gonna start writing down these questions. What was the other part of the question you had?
What the second part was if you see an increase in like the amount of people who are interested in transitioning into STEM fields in your experience.
No, I haven't. But the other thing you talked about was AI. And one of the things I've been really looking at is ChatGPT and the impact it has on a lot of different things. So then a friend of mine he has a PhD in engineering, and me and him were talking about, or I was on his podcast. It wasn't a podcast, it was a training. But in any instance, he is talking about, I have concerns about ChatGPT and that it can eliminate a lot of things that happen. But if you sit there with your head in the sand and let it happen, then I feel for you, because this is here, cat's out of bag per se. So then the other part about it is, how do you use that AI ChatGPT to enhance what you're doing? Take it, it's a tool. It's a tool. It's a really good tool if you know how to use it. So take that tool and use it to improve what you're doing. In regards to, hey, if you're transitioning from one field to another and you don't know what you're supposed to wear, you can chat GPT it, or you can reach out to someone like me and I'll tell you, hey, listen, you need to buy a good pair of shoes. You can get your suit from Goodwill and you can get it tailored. You can buy you a couple brand new shirts. Make sure you get some nice ties because that's what people are looking at. Make sure your fingernails are clean. You got, if you're a male and you're going into a corporate arena, make sure you have a fresh haircut and your teeth are clean. I mean, just little basic things that are going to allow people, because unfortunately, folks don't care what you know. They're looking at you and they're looking at you and they're creating an opinion based off of your appearance.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right, but what I'm saying is, for me, when I compete, I'm making sure that there's nothing that's going to make you say, well, he's out of the ordinary here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this. Now, once I get in there, no,
it's all about what you can do.
Yeah.
But you got to get in first.
Yes. So
yeah, for sure. That also goes back to what you were saying about relationships and how we'd be surprised about how certain relationships can conflict with our progress. It's the dependence or the interactions that we have on other people, with other people, have a lot to do with our development in our career. We have to be able to build relationships to be able to progress. Mainly, we go to school and everything, you guys, we do our classes and hopefully we build that curiosity that you're talking about to want to transition into STEM fields. But at the same time, we have to learn how to maintain positive relationships and build that core group that's going to lift us up and encourage us to keep going toward what we want to accomplish.
So I want to transition into more, or get more specific about you and the services that you provide. If you can also, I guess, start with some sort of anecdote, if you could share an example of how you helped a Black professional overcome a specific challenge that was unique to them, and you could maybe walk us through what the problem was and some of the service that you provided, and what the experience was and the outcome of that. And then you can also just give an overview of everything else that you do.
So then it was an African-American female, it was a Black female, and she had been in her current role, I want to say, for like 10 to 15 years. And so she wanted to advance, but she had been not passed over. So like you can submit your application through USA Jobs. However, once you submit it, once the hiring officials get it, they may or may not decide to look at you. They may or may not decide to give you an interview. But she's been in this career field for X amount of years, and she was not progressing. And with a lot of things that I found, she forgot who she was. She just, she forgot that she was, she had earned her master's degree. She had been working this career field for X amount of years. So she was, like sometimes you meet people that it's like, I got 10 years of experience and they got 2 years of doing the same thing in 8 years, or excuse me, 2 years experience and 8 years of just doing the same thing over and over. They haven't grown. They haven't tried to improve themselves. No kind of professional or personal development. Just, sitting there eating sandwiches and talking about, oh yeah, I know how to do this.
Yes.
But that wasn't her case. She was continuing to grow. So then I identified that, hey, listen, she forgot herself. Her confidence was lacking. So then when we had our sessions, I concentrated on things to kind of rebuild her confidence. And then in speaking with this person, I found out that they had a bad relationship and they were kind of dealing with that, the aftermath of that relationship. And they weren't aware that it was creeping into their career field. So then, I'm very blunt. It's like, hey, listen, you're gonna have to get over that. and I didn't mean to be cold, but listen, this is the deal. If that relationship's over, it's fine. But you're talking about doing something for yourself. the more competent we become, the more confidence we have in ourselves. And sometimes things shake you, and your confidence goes, and then you begin to second guess what value you're actually bringing. So then in any instance, that's what we focused on. I asked her, hey, listen, what are you doing to improve yourself? Are you watching YouTube videos? I was asking her things within her profession because she's having trouble. One of the things she was doing during the interview was that she wasn't communicating effectively. I was like, okay, all right, there's some free training within the agency. I want you to take this communication training. And then next time we talk about, like, what did you take away from that? How can you use this information to improve your communication skills? Because what was happening is when she did get interviews, she was not able to communicate effectively that she knew her job. And you have to be able, this all counts, all of it. So then after we stopped with communication, I started asking her, like, all right, what are some of the skill sets that you need to be able to be effective? And we worked on developing those skill sets. At the end, I think it was almost like 7 or 8 months, she ended up getting a promotion and reapplying for positions. Nice. And, it impacted me because she told me about it, and she was like, you really helped me. And I was like, God dang, man. So, that's one of the positives. And I get emotional, and I'm sorry because there are so many people that are dealing with stuff, and there's no one there.
Exactly.
So in any instance, those are some of the services I provided. I supported her through the process. Resume, I can review resumes. I can also help with interview preparation. And that was one of the things, I have a real keen eye, and I have a really attentive ear to look at you while we're performing a resume or performing the interview. Because after sitting in interviews, I don't know, hundreds of them, and being an interviewee and rating people, if you don't come across in that interview like you got it together, like you're the person for this job, it will come across in there. It will. People will see you and they'll be like, oh, nah. Or if you come in there and you're desperate, like, I got to get snot. And so then, coaching that person through, hey, listen, how are you preparing yourself? Are you listening to your favorite song? I mean, honestly, one of the things in talking to people, because that's part of the personal branding, I'd always say, I don't care if you're doing a virtual interview or on a telephone. For male and females, you wear a suit. You dress like you're going to that interview. And the reason why is because it's, within the heart and within the mind. If you're not there mentally, and not getting dressed up will get you there mentally, that's, I mean, it comes across in the way you communicate. So those are some things. So, and of course, goal setting. And just I think the main thing that I do well is I help my clients understand exactly, if you're telling me what direction you want to move in, I'm clarifying, okay, this is what you want at the end, and this is how I can help get you there.
Yeah. Creating that full plan. And I've heard it's come across before in some of my conversations with my friends. They say, like, adulting is so much more difficult because when you were in school, you had the syllabus, you had the
rules of the game,
had everything laid out and prepared so that you know what to do and when to do it. And then when you are an adult, you're out of school and you're doing that. Exactly.
But
there's your desk.
But you know what? Okay, so two things. Based off of what you said and having a syllabus and everything in place, imagine having a syllabus for 23 years of your life. Honestly, because in the military, it's like, hey, if you do A, B, C, and D, you'll get promoted. If you don't do A, B, C, and D, you won't get promoted. I mean, hey, the game is rolled out. It's like, hey, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
You can appreciate
so then, if you could imagine,
very clear.
Here's where I'm at.
If you could imagine, but I have challenges with hey, just get out there and do it. And the reason why I have challenges with that is because when I was in high school, they had home ec, and they taught you how to sew your clothes. And to this day, I sew my clothes. They taught you how to make little basic meals. I can make basic meals. Taught me how to write checkbooks, you know, or how to use a checkbook. And a lot of those skills that were kind of taught as an adult or taught in high school, there's no place to there's nothing that's been replaced there. So yeah, get out, you got your degree, but you know, how am I supposed to adult? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that because there's YouTube videos. If you can go on social media and post a TikTok about, you know, how you are eating donuts with coffee, then you can go ahead and post a TikTok on how to adult a little better. But I'm just saying that interaction to help you guide is not there. And you know, and I'm being honest with you. You know, when I was a drill sergeant, one of the things that I found that was really interesting was that we had soldiers, and you know, hey, private, you know, what's your family like? Where are you from? It's like, well, you know, I'm being raised by my grandmother. It's like, why are you getting raised by your grandmother, you private? And that's why I talked to him. It's like, well, you know, my mother's in jail and I don't know who my father is. And this is, and I'm not saying that these things are wrong, but I'm saying that guidance and leadership that was once there in the home is no longer there. And there's been nothing to replace it. So not saying that you're going to get away with just doing things irresponsibly, but at the same time, that guidance is just not there. So, you know, how do you adult if there wasn't an adult that was able to support you, or that adult wasn't providing a good example? So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Yeah, honestly, we could keep talking for like way longer than this, but you know, I definitely want to be respectful of your time. So we're gonna wrap this up. But before we do that, I just wanna, and I didn't get a chance to say it before, but thank you for your years of service to this country.
Yes.
You know, that's definitely not something anyone should take lightly.
Big fan of that.
Definitely. Big up to you. Like you definitely you signed up. I wouldn't say you signed up for your life, but you definitely
No, I did. 23 years. No,
yeah, so
yeah.
definitely, you know,
For us,
you
and we
signed over your life,
appreciate it.
and, you know, it's definitely not something you should take lightly. So thank you for your service. So just wanted to say that, and I also just want to say for I think you do provide a lot of value, and in this climate, it's going to be even more valuable.
And you're still serving.
Everything. No, for sure. So how can anyone that's listening to this podcast or watching this video, how can they reach out to you for more information and just get connected with you?
Okay, my name is Ahmad, Ahmad J. Burse and you can look me up on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email directly at Ahmad at Burse, BURSE consulting.com. My website should be up here next week. You know, I'm not sure if you ever had to work with someone building something like a website, but it's like building a house. Like, nah, I didn't want that.
Yeah,
nah, there's definitely a whole bunch of features and stuff. But no, we could definitely put that in the caption.
Yeah.
Well. So just send that over, and you know, everyone will get it. So
yeah,
it's not an issue.
And we appreciate you for being here with us. Thank you, everybody. Reach out if you're interested in learning more about how to prepare yourself for the career of your dreams. I'm sure Ahmad would be happy to help. And we can do this, persevere, and don't forget about who you are.
I like that. Cool. All right.
And before y'all go, hey, I just wanted to thank you. Listen, do not stop what you're doing, because it has so much value. And like I said, there could be someone going through something right now, and you know how the algorithm works. Something pops up and they'll see you and you're like, man, they look just like me. I can do what they're doing. And that's really important. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do too. It's really like, it's been a big deal for us to really have, to be able to encourage people, you know, and we both come from that same feeling of like really wanting people to understand, like whatever, the sky's the limit.
Sometimes you just gotta hear it, you know, and
the
then
sky's the limit.
That's into your mind. Someone just gotta put the idea in your head.
Yeah.
You know?
So we're gonna keep pushing it, and thanks for the encouragement.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Until the next time.
Absolutely. Y'all take care.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you liked the episode. If you did like it, go ahead and smash that like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also available on all other social media platforms as well, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you'd like to reach out to us regarding any critiques, a topic that you'd like us to cover, or you'd just like to be a guest on the show, you can email us at blackhypothesis@gmail.com. Thank you for your support.